Okay, good morning. This is day 333. You haven't really hit the big time in YouTube unless you get banned, right? You know you're over the target if you're getting banned. I guess the video that got pulled was the Nadia Aman video, not Awan. Her name's not Awan. It's Nadia Aman, M-A-W or A-M-A-N. And I didn't go on her side of the street even. I went on the other side of the street and I kept my distance. She's the person who works at Customs and Border Protection. I kept my distance from her. So there's something about Nadia Aman that they didn't like. So I don't think that's harassment at all. I think as a public official, it's certainly a reasonable part of a reasonable investigation if the FBI doesn't want to do it. So anyway, that's what I think the reason I have to make a video and upload it is. It could have been because I was asking about the Rao Abbas meeting or meetings. The Rao Abbas meetings was, I thought I heard Laura Everly say that she met Rao Abbas once to drop off the deposit in November of 2015 and then once in somewhere in the summer, July of 2016 to get the deposit back, and that was Rao. So she'd met him twice, and so I was just looking to see if she, if she went to the same place, if there was two meetings, if there was one meeting, how all that worked. So I'm not trying to intimidate any material witnesses or anything like that. I'm just trying to reenact the thing so we can find Rao Abbas. It just seems to be the hardest person in the world to find, especially somebody who's working in Congress. And he didn't really match the description of anybody working in Congress, but we'll keep pursuing that. One of the great things that came out yesterday was obviously this Washington Post article, which was a timeline for this 5-month investigation that begins when Imran has the 150 phones from CDW delivered to his house rather than to the congressional process that it's supposed to go through. And then the 5 months or 6 months of surveillance then that's done by it must be the FBI, and then JTTF becomes involved in this, and they're the ones who detect this 5,400 illegal logins. Now, if you look at how the logins were done at the DNC, we actually have CrowdStrike and their opinion, which they say that they actually put an agent known as an X agent tool set that basically goes in and copies everything and then copies everything out. Now, one thing you can do with an X agent is make incremental copies or incremental backups, which is what I think happened here, because you have 800 a week, you have 800 800 illegal logins a month, which turns out to be about, let's just say it was 930 a day, 30 a day, let's figure 24 hours a day. That would be hourly backups, just general rounding. Hourly partial backups, it just wakes up once an hour and sends out an hourly. That actually works out pretty closely to the math here. So if these were hourly backups of everything, and that matches up pretty well with the terabytes of information that the report said came out of this, that is going to be very, very interesting to see if they're partial or full of everybody in Congress, or just certain target members. 45 different target members is the numbers that's been thrown around. But the good thing is now we can start, it's not speculation. This isn't speculation. This is the Inspector General's report. And we can sort of start zooming in now, zooming in on some key dates. One of the key dates here is that at the end of this process, there's a meeting that the article talks about, which is a kind of a private meeting about what do we do about this. Now, I speculate now that this meeting would have happened after the DNC convention, which was on the 25th of July, because it ends in the firing. Yvette Clarke, who is the congresswoman from New York 9, Anthony Weiner's old district, fires Abid, and I put Abid in question marks, or quote marks here. Abid is in quote marks. So the key thing here is somebody had to, if this Abid is a real person, somebody like this, JTTF, would have had to step in and say, okay, we're going to create a fake persona here to fire this person. So if Abid is a real person, that is a different thing. And we'll see if that's true or not. We'll see if we can find a picture of Abid Awan in Congress or not. But we can start honing in on who would be the actor. Would it McCabe, JTTF, be the actor that creates this false narrative here? We don't know, but we are certainly going to zoom in on that. And the key here is finding, just like finding Rao Abbas in the Congress, finding Abid Awan, a picture of Abid Awan is going to be key. Now, you remember Abid Awan was also in a car dealership with Imran Awan. There's also another car dealership, which is called CIA Motors. There's also another car dealership called M&I Motors that declared bankruptcy that people don't talk much about. Again, this combination of Abid and Imran. It almost appears like as soon as there's some legal trouble, JTTF appears, and then an Abid Awan is punished, and then Imran Awan goes on his merry way. That just appears to be the continuing pattern. I'm not saying McCabe is releasing Imran and creating this false person, but it just seems that way. Boy, it just seems that way. Every time there's an investigation, it just seems like this Abid Awan, it kind of is created out of thin air. We'll get into more of this. So this is this gal who's the chief of staff that takes over for Yvette Clarke for this person that worked for Anthony Weiner named Davis. Now this new person, Drain, comes in, and she declares the irregularity. Someone declares the irregularity, and then she 5 months later releases Abid Awan. So we'll find out. We can talk to Drain here, D-R-A-N-E. We don't know if that's an informant name. It sounds almost like an informant name to protect an informant. We'll get more to that. We'll find out who she is and find out her story. So as we widen out, we can look at what other events happened here, what other events, not just the DNC convention, but we also have a whole timeline of other things that we know happened regarding the DNC emails. So we have a whole bunch of things that we've talked about in previous episodes going all the way back to September 2015 by the FBI's own account. We can start looking at emergency meetings that were called by Pelosi and saying, where's Imran, where's Imran, where's Imran? To me, the nature of that email from WikiLeaks seems like someone had made a report. I'd be very interested in when that occurred, because I think that's going to fit in on the timeline here somewhere between February and here. So that's really the next assignment, I think, for us, is figure out where this Pelosi meeting occurs along the way here, or along this timeline, this timeline we have, which is the first report. This is the, excuse me for the jumpiness here, or the unsteadiness here. I'm just doing this by hand. But the April 29th is when Amy Daisy first reports the first hack of the DNC. I believe that the same hacking tools, again, Debbie Wasserman Schultz is here, Imran is here. They're inseparable. They seem like always having, Imran always has the password. When Pelosi finds something happens in the House, she immediately says, where's Imran as well? I think these two timelines should be merged, is what I'm saying. The stuff happening over at the DNC with Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the stuff happening up here with Pelosi in the House, I think the two are really the same timeline. So we'll get to more of that. We'll talk about the fact that then we know a grand jury meets in November the 15th, so we know that there's preparation of proof, probable cause in this space of time here, so we can be able to fill that in. And then we know on February 2nd, Luke Rosiak writes the article from the police report, the Capitol Police Report, and we know Becerra gave a fake image of what this server had on it. This is the server where all these partial backups are going to, I believe, hourly backups, and they're going to this fake server, and then Becerra gives the fake server over to the Capitol Police, and that delays the Capitol Police investigation by 10 days. I believe about 10 days, and I believe these burglaries happened the night of the inauguration, a perfect cover where everybody else is doing different things. Okay, so that's this morning's missive. Sorry I can't be live, but we'll probably get the live capability back here soon.